Alright, how's it going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about what would be silver and approximately gold will be worth today. So you can see that I have these beautiful 90% silver coins of the United States here. That's in working dollar, constitutionally actually made by the coinage acts, so not the Federal Reserve notes that we use today. So got some Benjis here, 50 percenters, Washington quarters, and some Roosevelt dimes. These were all 90% silver. Alright, let's get into this video. Alright, so what to do here? To figure out what a Roman soldier would be paid today in equivalents today, so they got paid for a yearly salary of 225 denarii, or 22.5 ounces of silver per year. So that means a denarii is worth roughly about a 10th ounce of silver. So to do that, I needed to figure out, okay, so since back then Roman soldiers were technically speaking engineers as well as military men. So to figure out what their pay was, I had to kind of take the summation between the two of them. It's not going to be as accurate as what they technically would get paid, but I just chose to do this stuff. So I chose to do an E2, an enlisted second rank private, not private first class, but not as enlisted, but it's E2s, so it's a first guy. So I got a civil engineer, so technically mostly they did civil stuff, but they sometimes did mechanical depending on their qualifications. So I took the summation of the two of them and divided by 2. So they all had so that averaged out about $44,000 for 45 per year. So I said that would be approximately what they would get paid in today's Federal Reserve notes, approximately. So I took that number and divided by 22.5, and I roughly got about that number right here for an ounce of silver. And also, I was kind of curious about what was their gold to silver ratio back then. So it was 25 denarii for one RU. So that's where we get the periodic symbol for our for gold. That's the AU right there. So they had roughly about 23.23 troy ounces of gold in there. So times that by 5, I get roughly about a troy ounce. So I did that times that by 5 for the 25. That'll be 125 denarii to equal approximately 1 gold ounce. To do that, and then I did that, I got roughly about a 1 to 12.5 gold to silver ratio. So times that by 12.5, you get roughly what gold was kind of valued by that at that time in today's fiat terms. So to do another calculation, I did two other calculations with numbers that are kind of on the internet, and some of them other people in the community have picked up over the years, and other finances people, and plus just one with another money supply. So here we go. So today's above ground storage of silver is roughly about 6.1 billion ounces, and a total of silver reserve is approximately about 4.4 billion. That includes jewelry and bullion and coins. So we all know that silver and gold are based off of the spot price, which is set by the COMEX futures market. So by contracts, there's 100 ounces per gold contract. And for silver, there's about 5,000. But also Deutsche Bank's private balance sheet that people have audited for back in 2008 and things like that. So their cap at that time for gold and silver was 15 trillion for gold, 5 trillion for US dollars, and 5 trillion for silver. At current prices for the above ground silver and gold, over that way, right here, the current price, with it being like around $18 and gold being at the time it was calculating $15.60, gold was worth about the total above ground real price of it is about $9.53 trillion. Silver is about 79.2 billion. So taking into that, so I did on the United States, I looked on the United States debt clock. So the gold to dollar ratio on the United States debt clock is about $9,000. Silver to dollar ratio is about $1,000. So, and also on there they say the paper to silver ratio is 178. Gold to paper to gold for the contracts and things like that for paper contracts. So there's about 89.61, so or 90 for them. So yeah, you have the amount of currency in existence right now in the world in United States terms, valued in the United States dollars, is $36.8 trillion in physical assets. If you broaden it out to all credit and other things like that, is $90.4 trillion. So my second calculation for gold and silver, what I did was take the market cap, what Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan did, and what I calculated for the real asset. To get to that amount, gold will have to do that to get it just to 15 trillion. To get it to the United States debt clock value, it would need to do 5.4 trillion. So 9.4 trillion. 9.54 times. So I times it by the amount of gold contracts, times it by the futures, the amount of paper gold is on the futures contracts, times it by the actual value currently right now. That's what you get for about gold. What I did from the math there. So I took all those numbers, times it by the current value of gold, because to get it to its real market cap, the banks will have to allow it to run on 1.574 times. Gold, to get it to the debt clock value for the amount of year-to-year increase of gold, year-over-year mining supply of gold versus the year-over-year increase of the M2 money supply, which is just the physical assets and also what's in the bank accounts. So you got the amount of contracts being printed, being used on the futures or the spot prices versus the mining process. Then you got the amount of gold on the futures contracts. So, and then silver, on the other hand, over here, to get it to its market cap, to what JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank value it at, it would take that much money, that many times to get it to that value. To get it to the debt clock value, it needs to run 62.28 times. And then you have the contracts, like I stated for gold over here, is the amount of silver coming onto the market, physically speaking, versus what's being traded on paper. But they never decrease the amount of paper on their balance sheets to equivalent to the amount of actual silver there is. And then you have the actual silver on the contracts, the amount of paper to silver. Not like they are stating that one paper ounce, there's a 78.6.3 paper ounces per physical. That is total lie. That is not true. So that's not that. It's just the amount of like paper contracts, the actual paper. Well, paper. So you have the silver contracts versus the actual price, and that is what I get for silver. 62,384,861,460 in nominal terms if stuff doesn't hit the fan. Yeah. But I was just thinking, like, well, let's not do those extremes because no one knows if this is going to happen or not. So let's just see if all physical cash would flood into gold and silver across the world. What would happen across the markets? So I did, let's say 60% of all that cash goes into gold. And what I did was say I added the amount of money that would go into gold and divided that, the total sum, divided that by the original amount of the market cap. Well, the market cap or the current market value up here. So I added this to that and then divided all these two here, the amount, the 60% of that, divided by that, the summation between the two of those, and then divided by that. And I said did the same thing for silver, and silver would be 3,363.48 per troy ounce. Gold will be about 51 and 72.2 per troy ounce. Why did I do that? It's because, throughout human history, gold and silver always soaks up the excess currency in existence, no matter what. Because these guys, silver and gold, are monetary metals, and always have and always will be. They've always been used even after 3,200 fiat currencies have come into existence, and all of them have returned to zero. So I'm betting on those odds that all this fiat will be burnt up and gold and silver will take on the excess to go to their true fundamental values, so that they take out the excess currency in existence and reflect the price and go to their true value to hold their purchasing powers. So that's what I did. All right, catch you all guys on the next flight.